Hi, now we're here in the Merlot room, which we use for our indoor ceremonies and also for the dance floor. And when you want to dance, you're going to need a DJ. I have Mike Steffens here with us. Mike, tell me a bit about what your services offer.
Oh, thanks, Anna. So I'm a DJ and also an MC. So generally I'm often with our brides and our grooms for the whole day. So I'll be with them for ceremony music, where I mic them up to make sure everybody can hear. And what we do when we're miking them up is we discreetly mic them up. We put a little lapel microphone, rather like the one I'm wearing now actually, so that nobody can see and nobody has to hold a microphone. All of the music is played, and then after the ceremony we do some cocktail music for them while they're enjoying their canapes and their drinks with their guests. Then after that we'll be into dinner music, and then finally we get them on the dance floor. And if I need to MC as well, if I'm asked to MC, then that is a real privilege and a job that I really enjoy doing. Obviously it's an option, it's not something that I insist on doing, of course, but if I'm asked to do it, I absolutely am delighted to do that job for them.
One thing I absolutely love with you coming in here, Mike, not only are you a local, so supporting our local industry here, but the gear you have is always top standard. The simple system I think you've got here with you today is our ceremony setup that you'd usually bring in. And
certainly the speaker system is for the ceremony, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you have usually, the great thing, I mean, most DJs don't come with two. You've got setups in the garden and setups in here. So there's none of this lack of continuity of actual music on the day. Right. You've got literally moved from one place to the next. Music's already playing up here, so when people are moving, they're not having that hour or so, or well, maybe not an hour, that might be extreme, about half an hour or so of music where there's nothing going through.
Correct, yeah. And also as well as using the appropriate equipment for the location. So you're right in saying with the ceremony, because we're outdoors, using a speaker system that spreads the sound across the whole area rather than pushes it forward in one direction. So that's for the ceremony. And then when we're inside, you know, for the dinner music, things that can play music quietly but in high quality, but also give a good sound for the microphone as well for speeches. And then on the dance floor, obviously there we get a little bit more grunty, a little more bottom end and a bit more power. And so using the right gear inside as well. So it's not one size fits all across, you know, it's appropriate equipment for various parts of the day to make it really work for our brides and our grooms, and for the guests as well, to make sure they have a good time.
Excellent.
And music is important. It's a big part of the day. In fact, pretty much music is carrying on for the whole time. There's music as guests arrive. There's ceremony music, there's cocktail music, there's dinner music, and there's dance music. So there isn't really a single part of the day that doesn't have a soundtrack.
A lot of, I think couples, really struggle sometimes when they're trying to find the MC. It's one of the last things that they ask people because they're so nervous. It's a huge part of the actual day. But to give it away to someone that they don't know, that feeling of whether or not you're going to have the understanding of the vibe of it, I suppose. Yep. I've always felt that your emceeing has been so high and professional. But what do you do to lead up and to help them make that work?
Yep, okay. So first of all, it is a real privilege to do the job. That's the number one thing. If I get asked to be an MC, it's a personal role, it's individual, but it has to be professional as well. So I do spend a bit of time talking to the couples about everything they want to achieve on the day, all the things that need to be done on the day, all the people that they're working with on the day, yourself, obviously if there is another entertainer, if there is a photographer, anybody who I'm going to be involved with and interact with, I'll need to know all that information. And then we prepare a little blueprint of what we're going to do. So that way I'm very well armed. But on the day, of course, you know, I do need to be very responsive. I need to understand that things change. And we're flexible, we move around, we make sure that it really works well. But you know, it needs to be a personal, professional performance from me. It can't just be a, you know, one size fits all again. I don't just stand there and do it because it's individual. I'm dealing with individuals and I'm dealing with different people every time. And some people, you know, enjoy a more relaxed response. Other people, it is quite formal. There'll be a lectern and there'll be things that make it very formal. And, you know, it's a great job.
It's not a one size fits all.
No, it
absolutely.
really isn't.
And as far as the job of an MC, it isn't just about introducing speeches.
No.
There's a lot of discussion that gets done, a lot of directing of people, and it means that person is pretty much involved throughout the actual whole event. Yep. So for them, they're kind of working. So for them, for a bride and groom not wanting to have one of their guests feel as though that they're working.
Yep.
It's really wonderful, I think, to actually have that service as an add-on for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. If they want all of their guests to be totally relaxed and enjoy themselves, it is a different position to say best man, because a best man, a very privileged position to be in. You know, you're there, you're put up on a bit of a pedestal along with the bridesmaids and the other groomsmen and so on. But the MC's job, you know, it can be something like if the toilet paper's run out, or if there's a car blocking somebody in the car park, or you know, if things are you know, need to change timeline-wise, you know, those sort of things. And if
they have to have that confidence to liaise with an actual venue and to keep things moving along properly as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And so to put that on, you know, either a close friend or a family member, again, means that they will probably feel less inclined to have a really, really good time. I don't mean that, but they won't drink as much, or they won't, you know, because they'll feel under pressure, and they won't. And you
they
don't necessarily
certainly
want that.
Always get very excited when the dance time starts.
They
and
do,
their
don't they?
Job is over.
Over to you, Mike. Yeah, and that's great.
Exactly.
But look, it is a privileged position, and it dovetails really nicely with the DJing side, because it means that there's no handover I have to do to another DJ, because I'm that as well. But the whole thing, the two fit really, really well together. I mean, I wouldn't want to take on any other role. You know, I think, you know, photographer, videographer, those are separate roles, and you need to be, you know, doing those jobs. But the DJ and the MC work very nicely together, and you know.
Yeah, well, you get some MCs who decide they want to pick up a microphone and just talk anytime, and they're not liaising with the people that are actually involved with turning music down or doing anything else. So there's that great fluidness of you managing the actual music and being the person speaking.
The two work well.
Yes. So music's really important. How do you find what's appropriate for the timing of the day?
Sure. So I do talk to our brides and grooms in detail in the build-up to their wedding about what they like. And so that's really important for me to know what they like, what their families like. It can even be down, you know, nans and granddads and so on. And then on the night itself, reading an audience when we've got a full dance floor here, making sure we're keeping it going is important. So taking requests on the night, getting a good understanding of what people like just by looking at them, getting a feel, digging very deep on many, many years of experience in doing the job is also something that I will do as well, to make sure that we keep the buzz going on the dance floor, the music's played, you know, appropriately for the crowd, and they're going to have a great time on the night, a really good time.
Now, I know on the night you have dance floor lighting, so I see we've got an uplight here to create whatever colour scheme, but you also have all kinds of other lasers and all kinds of other things. Tell me what kind of lighting rigs and what comes involved.
Okay, so I mean, lighting is important, and at weddings you don't want it to be too mad, and I don't mean that, because we're not trying to create some, you know, rave scene with lots of smoke and lots of lasers, because that wouldn't fit with all of the guests. So lighting needs to be subtle, it needs to be themed, I think. So for instance, if you've got a theme for the venue that I see we've got red out here at the moment, so you know, we can theme the lighting in the room to create a red underpalette around the room itself. But dance floor lighting, you know, can be just appropriate, and again, some couples will actually put some requests in for lighting. They'll say that they really don't want strobes, or they don't want this, but they do want this and they do want that, and I'm absolutely open to talking about lighting, and because it is important, it creates a good atmosphere. But I think subtle is the word at a wedding.